Hi folks, welcome to Community Pulse. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. On today's show, we'll be talking about some things you might see floating around. We call them blue bills. I've got a dollar bill right here, but they go all the way up in different denominations, and they're kind of starting and taking root here in Helena, and you'll be seeing them. These are actual U.S. currencies that have been dyed blue to represent a certain movement or information process that's going on, and it is being initiated by our Helena, Tim Holmes. Now, Tim, you're an artist, a philosopher, a degrowth activist, a member of the Montana Logging and Ballet. You're really famous. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. You can use whatever epithets you want.
So many titles. That is very nice.
That's right.
But now we're talking about blue bills, and you're starting this thing going here in Helena. What are the blue bills, and what's it all about?
Well, they're just regular currency, tinged blue, and they stand for our faith in the value of a clean environment and a healthy community. So I don't know how many people know this, but regular money used to be backed by gold.
Yes.
Now it's backed by nothing. So the money you trade with every day is backed by nothing. So I'm giving us an opportunity to trade with money that is backed by faith in something to have of real value, which is a clean environment and a healthy community. And what a bill is a relationship. So if I give you a bill, we both agree that it has a certain value, because obviously it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You can't eat it.
Right.
So by giving you a blue bill, what I'm doing is telling you I have faith in the value of a clean world. And if you accept it, then you say, yes, I have faith in that value too. And then you pass it on, the same thing happens. Your responsibility is to tell the person who receives it, I have faith in a clean world. And if you do, then you can have it. Otherwise, I'll give you a regular one, because these are easier to find.
Yeah. And these blue bills on the back, they have some printing on them. It says, based on the value of a clean world, what is this? Visit bluebills.us, which is a website. Now, if the people go to that website, what can they find there? What kind of information?
Well, first of all, it explains the impetus for this movement and the story of how it was created. But then I'm also encouraging people to make their own. So each of these is actually an artwork.
Yeah.
They're each handcrafted, but it's not like I own the idea. I want to pass the idea along, and it's really catching fire. I mean, just this morning I heard from a woman in Portugal that wants to do this in Europe, and the project was launched 2 days ago, so it's really catching on. I mean, people really like this idea, and it's logical because, for one thing, we feel so helpless in a situation where, with the financial crisis and the housing collapse and all of these huge, epic catastrophes that are happening around the world, we just feel so helpless as individual human beings. And then the government goes and bails out the banks, saying that they're too big to fail. And what do the banks do? They give these huge, obscene bonuses to their CEOs. So it just feels like we're being squashed by the elite. So what can one person do?
Yeah.
And I feel, well, I still have a creative mind. That's one thing we all have. We can come up with ideas. And my idea is to actually put value behind the money. Now, this, as I said before, stands for nothing. But in actuality, it's used as if what it means is profits without regard to cost. So if you can make a profit, it doesn't matter who you hurt. That's the way our monetary system works. For instance, I heard this story, if you own a forest and you want to do something nice for your community, you want to build a park or you want to have a wildlife preserve, something really good for the community. If you take that story out into the world, are you going to get support? Well, you'll get emotional support, but not any support from the economy.
Right.
But if you say, I'm going to clear cut the forest, I'm going to keep all the profits and leave the mess for somebody else to clean up, that's that's fine with the monetary system, and they'll give you a loan for that.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is this is not based on profits regardless of the cost. This is based on the realization that value only comes from two places. It comes from human creativity and it comes from nature. The only two places that wealth comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do activity that is good for the community and good for the environment, you are promoting human survival. If you do activity that has no regard for who gets hurt, it's going to drive us over the cliff. Mm-hmm. And we are very much seeing that happen all over the world right now.
Yeah.
So here's one little thing that we can do to sort of to stand up and count ourselves as important individuals.
Uh-huh.
So one thing that I think is so beautiful about this is it doesn't take a move, you don't have to chain yourself to a fence. You don't have to show up at a protest. You don't have to write letters to your congressman. This is something you can do every day, just during the course of your day. Going to the grocery store or going to get a cup of coffee. Here's a way for you to say, I believe in a clean world.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of businesses would you see this bill ideally being traded in? I imagine the farmers market would be one because a lot of people are creating their own goods there. But where else would you like to see the bill spent?
Well, first of all, each one of these bills is a gift. Mm-hmm. I don't sell these, I give them away.
Right. Yeah.
And so the bill starts out with that energy. When this bill is created, it's created by the government, the Treasury, gives a bunch of these to the Federal Reserve Bank, that gives them to commercial banks, and then they give them back to you and me, but it's with interest. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, we owe a bunch of money that we started out with. Now, that interest-bearing phenomenon, the interest just grows and grows and grows. It never dies. And so eventually it's going to overtake the world, which is what we're seeing now. Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing about the Blue Bills for me is it's a personal relationship. So I would suggest that if people get these bills, they not take them to a big business.
Yeah.
Because the business is just going to throw them in with the rest of the bills and they'll just disappear.
Yeah.
So use them in person-to-person interactions. Farmers market is great. Individuals is great. If you go to the store and you feel like there's a person there, uh-huh, that's a good place to use it because you want to talk to the person. You don't want to talk to the institution.
Right.
Because the institution, of course, wants profit.
Yeah.
But the person wants a real clean world for their kids, uh-huh, right? The
yeah.
institution doesn't have any kids.
Yeah.
So yes, if you can talk to a person and say, do you accept that we find value in a clean world? And they say yes, then I'd give them the bill. Otherwise, don't give them because they're really rare.
Yeah.
And we've made hundreds of them, but it's a big economy.
It's a big economy. It's a big economy. You need more of them out there. And you're not just funding this with your own dollars. You would like our viewers maybe to take some of their money and dye it blue also. How complicated is that process? I know you're an artist. Is it an art process or is it pretty simple?
It's very simple, and it's incredibly simple. You can do this in your kitchen. Uh-huh. And all the instructions and all the free materials are on this website, bluebills.us. Uh-huh. And I really do encourage people to make their own. One of the nice things about this is it really is a handcrafted artwork. So it's not just a machine manufactured item. It's something that somebody spent time to create. Uh-huh. And that becomes part of the gift. So in a gift economy, if I give you a gift, it actually becomes bigger than itself because you are filled with a kind of debt, a debt of gratitude. Mm-hmm. And so if you receive a gift, you think, wow, I feel so lucky. I want to do something nice for somebody else. Uh-huh. I just heard a couple of days ago about a coffee stand in Bozeman where the customer came through, they paid for their own coffee, and they said, I want to pay for the order behind me.
Yeah.
And the next person pulled up to the window, and the cashier says, the person in front already paid for you. And the guy says, I want to pay for the car behind me. This went on for 6 hours.
Ooh, wow.
6 hours without a single person saying, no, I'm just going to take it and go.
Oh, cool.
That's the wonder of a gift. And with this, if every gift that you give becomes bigger. Now, if I give you a loan for $1,000, in a year, I want that loan back plus a certain percentage of interest.
Yeah.
If I give you a gift, the interest is already accrued immediately. And then you turn it around, give it to somebody else, it becomes bigger yet. And that's what holds a community together, is that emotional bond. But with a sale, there is no emotional bond.
Yeah.
And so if I buy an orange from you, I give you $1, you give me an orange, I have nothing more to do with you. I don't care if you live or die.
Yeah.
But with a gift, I have an emotional bond with you. And so that's what holds the community together. And that's really one of the reasons why the families and communities are flying apart, because we depend on this economy that separates people every time there is an interaction. So if you use a blue bill, you are making an emotional connection with another person.
Yeah.
And even though I give these away, I don't insist that other people give them away. You can spend it as money.
Yeah.
But still, that original beautiful thought that this is a gift is incorporated into the actual object.
Well, that's great. And I see you have some other denominations here too, 20, 10s, and 5s. So you're not limited to just $1.
Right. And what I would love to do is just keep printing dyeing bigger and bigger denominations and giving them away as gifts. Now, right now, I'm just starting out the project, so I kind of wanted to start a little bit more modest until people get used to the idea. But I started this project a couple days ago in a multi-state conference, and so these bills are already in many states. Actually, the very first blue bill went to Canada with a musician from Europe, actually.
Oh.
And people love the idea wherever they are. Another beautiful thing about this is there is no opposition.
Yeah.
I'm kind of alarmed that nobody has thought of this before, because it's almost like running unopposed, because there's nobody else to vote for.
Yeah.
As I said, this has no backing, and this one has some backing. So an intelligent person will look at the two, oh, this is backed by nothing and this is backed by a clean environment, and they'll choose this. Even an idiot, if you say this is backed by nothing and this is backed by something, they'll take this.
Yeah, because of what it represents. Well, I know at one time unions wanted to make sure everybody knew that they're in a communion, or a community. They would say, let's get paid in $2 bills. And then all of a sudden everybody's spending $2 bills, which you don't see all the time.
Yeah.
And they started realizing where the money came from and why it had a value versus it being an unidentified bill. It's just floating through the currency, and people don't know where it came from or care. So I really like the idea of this blue bill. It's really fun. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. And another thing I think is kind of cool is I do encourage people to, as I say, to do this at home.
Yeah.
And I have visions of people, hanging them up to dry on their clothesline outside. Because I really don't think people will steal these unless they know what they are.
Well, yeah.
Some thief running down the alley looks at a bunch of blue bills on the clothesline.
They might think it's art.
That's right.
If it was on your clothesline.
Right, it's on my clothesline.
So now, a lot of people wondering maybe is that, you dyed our currency blue. Is there a problem with that being a defaced currency? I mean, does the government get excited about this at all?
No, as long as the bill is still negotiable, that's the thing that they look for. So you can't tear it up, you can't glue it to something else, you can't make it unrecognizable. So this is just a pretty subtle shade, and all it does is identify it as something different from a regular bill.
Ah, okay.
So.
That's great. So let's get dying our bills, right?
Yes,
And start
right.
watching them and then saying, I know this bill came from Tim Holmes. Now, this one has something stamped on the back. Would you like people to do the same languaging that's stamped on the back of the bill?
Yeah, and the template for that and everything is available on the website.
Okay. And you can probably go to any stamp works and say, I'd like a rubber stamp made so that it...
That's one way to do it, or you can just run it through your printer.
So. Really?
Yeah, that's easy as that.
Different way of printing your money.
That's right.
Print on your money.
Yeah, I want to point out that there's no way that these are counterfeit.
Right.
I mean, you've got to understand that this is real money.
Real money, yes, exactly. Yeah, and it'll spend like money, and you can give it away too. Now you have a book too. Tell us more about it.
This is kind of the inspiration for this project. It's a book called Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein.
Yeah.
And it's the first description I've heard of an economy that is really based on these principles of a clean environment, a healthy community, and a sustainable future. And so we think about what are we going to do when, when the next financial crisis happens, when the economy doesn't recover, when there isn't suddenly a magical infusion of new employment. How are we going to live? Well, the answer is we're going to live in community. We're going to take care of each other. And if we can get away from this idea of reducing all of our transactions to monetary exchanges where there's no emotional connection, then the alternative to that is a community that is emotionally connected. And then that's what's going to tie the community back together. And so it's a beautiful description in here. He goes into all kinds of details that, of course, I can't get into, but it's a great book. I recommend it. Oh, it's also free online.
Oh,
so
the
if
book
you look
is
up,
free.
Yeah, if you look up Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein, you can read the book free.
Oh, that's
So-
great. Get it down on your Kindle or your smartphone.
Yeah.
And learn more about this.
Betcha.
Right after you go to the website to find out how to dye your own money blue.
Right. But you can't use these on the web, unfortunately.
That's right. Well, now, Tim, we're drawn to a close on the show. What are some of the final thoughts you'd like our viewers to remember about your blue money and what all it represents?
Well, one of the things people ask me is, why would an artist do this kind of thing? It seems like something that an economist would do.
Yeah.
But we think about artists as being people who paint pretty pictures. And of course, yes, we have the talent to do that. But that view really comes out of an economic system where we're all reduced to doing something that can be sold. So artists are forced into being turned into commodity makers. But what an artist really is a kind of antenna for the culture.
Yeah.
So the artist reflects to the people what the people are like. And this is a role that I really take seriously. With the Montana Logging and Ballet Company, we're political satirists. We kind of bring up the issues with a certain twist so that people can laugh about what's going on. And what that does not only makes us feel better about terrible things that are happening, but it helps us to process the realities of what we're dealing with. And economy is already very, very opaque. It's very hard to understand. And so even the fact, how can something like this work if it doesn't mean anything? Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. So what an artist does is works on a deeper level, on a level of the psyche. It's beneath consciousness. So the more you think about this idea of using blue money, the more beautiful it becomes, because there's no argument against it. There's nothing that it does. It doesn't change anything, except for the one thing that is hardest of all to change, and that is the image that we live with. So it's a psychic change on the inside. And the good news is we've already changed our values. We already know that we have to have a clean world to survive. So now all we have to do is change the way that we talk about what value really is in our community. We know that change isn't going to come from the top down. It's going to come from the bottom up, like crazy ideas from ladies at yard sales.
Yeah. Well, Tim, boy, you said that so well. I don't know how I could say it any better, but I want to say thank you for your art. Thank you for your activism. Thank you for your degrowth efforts that is going on. And I want to encourage everyone to look for these bluebills, make your own, and start changing.
Let me tell you about one event.
Yeah.
My birthday's coming up next week, and what I want to do for my birthday is give everybody a gift. So at my studio, 446 North Hoback, on the 11th of May, anybody that shows up, I'm going to give them a gift until the supplies run out. But, so
supplies are limited, so
Yeah.
act now. May 11th at your studio on Hoback. Get a dollar bill and see some of your wonderful art. Great. Thank you for joining us today on Community Pulse.